If you believe you have any information pertaining to this case, you are urged to contact the Lake County Sheriff's Office on 352-343-2101. If you wish to remain anonymous, you can contact Crimeline on 1-800-423-8477. This video features discussions of homicide, sexual assault, and LGBT hate crime. Viewer discretion is advised. At around 11 a.m. on 25th of September 1988, a man was looking for lumber with which to build furniture in a patch of woodland off County Road 474 in the Green Swamp area of Clermont, Lake County, Florida. While searching, a foul smell caught the man's nose, and after venturing towards its source, he came across the stuff of nightmares. A set of mummified human remains shrouded within a patch of weeds 5 foot high. When authorities arrived on the scene, they noticed the remains, which lay face up, looked as though they'd been dragged into the area from the roadside in an apparent attempt to conceal them. The following morning, the body was autopsied by forensic anthropologist Dr. William R. Maples at the C.A. Pound Human Identification Laboratory in Gainesville, Alachua County, who determined they were that of a young white female who died somewhere between 2 weeks and 8 months prior to discovery. Her age estimate is given as anywhere from 22 to 35 years old. She had long, naturally brown hair bleached strawberry blonde or blonde, long manicured fingernails which may have been artificial, some dental work including fillings, and 250cc silicone breast implants lacking any serial numbers. These implants were described as proportionate to the rest of her body. In the past, she'd undergone a rhinoplasty. This may have been related to a previous nose injury, as possible evidence of a healed fracture in the area was reportedly present, as well as evidence of a healed fracture to her right fifth toe, to her right cheekbone, and to her anterior left seventh rib. On her Doe Network page, the injury to her cheekbone is noted specifically as being secondary to blunt force trauma. Standing at 5 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 11 inches tall, she weighed around 150 to 180 pounds, having a, quote, robust, athletic build. Her eye colour could not be determined. Due to pitting on her pelvis, it was determined she'd given birth in the past. It should be noted that nowadays this is deemed to be an incredibly inaccurate method of discerning whether or not a person has given birth, and should therefore not be given much credence. The woman's body was not in recognisable condition, with little to no soft tissue remaining. Due to circumstances surrounding the placement of her body, it is believed she was likely a victim of homicide, though an exact cause of death could not be found. Another one of law enforcement's theories is the possibility that the woman may have accidentally overdosed and been dumped out of fear, but again, this is not certain as the remains were too badly decomposed for any conclusive toxicology results. The decedent wore a bluish-green tank top, an acid-washed magnesia-brown denim skirt that had been rolled down to hang around her knees, and a pair of pantyhose which had been partially removed, suggesting a sexual assault may have occurred. No forms of identification were found with or near her body, nor any other personal items such as jewellery or a handbag. Despite appeals, no one came forward to say they knew anything about the decedent or her killer. Police even spoke to the resident closest to a site of discovery who lived about a mile away, and they said they neither saw nor heard a thing. Authorities then discussed the case with local business owners and employees, but to no avail. Every lead turned up negative, and to this day, over 30 years later, both the woman and her killer remain nameless. Like so many of Florida's unidentified, Lake County Jane Doe's body was placed in storage in an evidence room in a lab, and over the years her case largely went forgotten. In the early 2010s, 2 Floridian Jane Does were identified by DNA as missing women who had previously been ruled out as potential matches. This, it seemed, was enough to prompt official re-examinations of all Florida's unidentified cases. Lake County Jane Doe's time came in 2015, and with a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of discoveries was made. The new ME, Dr. Michael Warren, was of the opinion that her skeletal dimensions were indicative of, quote, someone who had a hormonal balance more typical of a male during skeletal growth, unquote. They confirmed they had the right body, though, and soon sent off a newly retrieved sample of her DNA for further testing. This testing revealed perhaps the most unexpected plot twist in this story. It came to light that Jane Doe possessed XY chromosomes as opposed to two X chromosomes, indicating she'd been born biologically male. Authorities concluded the marks on her pelvis, previously thought to be a sign of pregnancy, actually resulted from several years of hormone replacement therapy, and their Doe was transgender. Yet for 27 years, they'd been none the wiser to this fact. Around the time the Doe was identified as being a transgender rather than a cisgender woman, she was given the nickname Julie by students examining her remains. They named her after the American actress Julie Newmar, who is a vocal supporter of LGBT rights. According to experts, the implants Julie received were discontinued 5 years before her death, suggesting she'd had her upper body reassignment no later than 1984. She may have undergone or been undergoing full sex reassignment, though nothing could be proven due to the rate of decomposition. Most likely she'd had her surgeries done in either Miami, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, or New Orleans, Louisiana, based on distance. According to an article by the Daily Coast, the sex reassignment process back in the 80s required, quote, extensive counseling and a year of living full-time with the gender expression typical of the gender the patient intended to be reassigned to prior to any surgery, and in most cases of male to female transition, at least orchiectomy was performed back then before starting hormonal treatments, unquote. Due to these facts alone, you'd think someone must surely have recognized her as a former or perhaps a fellow patient, but apparently not. In July 2018, isotope testing was carried out on Julie's skull, which indicated she was native to southern Florida. Despite this, no missing person report matching her description seems to have been filed, suggesting her disappearance went unreported. This could be due to a number of factors. For example, familial estrangement or disownment, perhaps related or unrelated to her transgender status. Also in 2018, investigators working on her case sought the aid of the DNA Doe Project, a non-profit organization dedicated to identifying Does through genetic genealogy. The DNA Doe Project have an overwhelming success rate, having conclusively identified dozens of Does, including Buckskin Girl, aka Marsha King, Lyle Stevick, whose real name was officially withheld at the request of his next of kin, Joseph Newton Chandler III, aka Robert Ivan Nichols, and the Sumter County Does, aka James Paul Freund and Pamela Mae Buckley. Regrettably, the initial 2018 attempt to extract a sufficient sample of Julie's DNA failed. They needed a minimum of 20 nanograms, with 500 being the preferred amounts, but were getting less than 2 from the bones in Julie's feet. Another attempt at extraction was made later that year, though again they failed to retrieve a worthy amount. Thankfully, the team succeeded in their attempts on the third try in January 2020, and her DNA was finally deemed suitable for sequencing. As of March 2021, Julie's case is still considered active, meaning her family tree is still being researched. However, pinpointing her within its branches has proven difficult. According to the DNA Doe Project spreadsheet, she shares 89.7 centimorgans of DNA with her closest match. Assuming no endogamy, Julie and the aforementioned match should share a pair of fourth great-grandparents at the most distant. According to her admixture chart, Julie was of mainly North Atlantic and Baltic descent, with some Mediterranean and Asian genes mixed in. And now we'll move on to the theories. I want to preface this segment of the video by saying none of this information has been proven and is pure speculation, so please do not take any of this as fact. A theory I've seen thrown around a lot is that Julie may have been a sex worker who was possibly killed by one of her clients in a hate crime when they found out she wasn't cisgender. According to data from the National Transgender Discrimination Survey taken in 2008, roughly 13% of transgender individuals had at least dabbled in the sex trade, with trans women twice as likely to than trans men. Julie's surgeries would have required extensive funding, so it's not outlandish to think that she may have earned a living in the sex trade, though, as far as I can tell, this theory is otherwise essentially baseless. Another theory as to how Julie funded her transition is that her parents may have paid, assuming they were accepting of her identity. They may not have realised the body found in Lake County was actually their child's, as initial reports stated it was that of someone assigned female at birth. By the time news came out to suggest otherwise, it had been almost 3 decades since Julie's death, and her next of kin may well have passed on by then. Speaking of deceased relatives, it's possible Julie may have instead funded her transition using inherited money. Amateur sleuths have put forth the suggestion that perhaps Julie wasn't transgender, but rather intersex, or perhaps an individual with a genetic condition, such as androgen insensitivity syndrome or Swyer syndrome. Androgen insensitivity syndrome, AIS, occurs in intersex individuals with male chromosomal makeup, and in short, prevents the male genitalia from developing as it otherwise should, as the body cannot properly respond to testosterone. Complete AIS results in a feminine appearance and phenotype despite the presence of XY chromosomes, and signs of the condition aren't usually externally noticeable, aside from the absence of menses and the absence or diminished quantity of certain patches of bodily hair. Individuals with complete AIS are typically raised as females, and most maintain that female gender identity throughout their lives. On the contrary, individuals with partial or mild AIS appear phenotypically male and are usually raised as such. Swyer syndrome, also known as XY gonadal dysgenesis, is a type of hypergonadism occurring in biological females. An affected person will appear to have typical female sex characteristics, all while possessing XY chromosomes. In all cases, puberty fails to take place. As such, individuals with the syndrome are unable to grow breasts or menstruate without transdermal estrogen administration. In Julie's case, this theory is sort of discounted by the fact that the majority of people with Swyer syndrome are affected by osteopenia, and they also have a high likelihood of developing certain cancers, neither of which were evident in Julie's remains. Again, I'd just like to reiterate that officially Julie is thought to be transgender. Authorities have never stated they found evidence she was intersex or had a genetic condition or anything, so the AIS and Swyer syndrome theories remain just that. Ultimately, we may never know the motive behind Julie's murder, as the responsible party could be long dead. At the very least, however, we can remember and honour her existence. Hopefully, we can one day return to her at least some degree of dignity by reuniting her with her chosen name. Someone must have known her. Someone must be wondering what happened. After all these decades, Julie Doe deserves justice. Julie's DNA and dentals are available for comparison. A list of missing person rule-outs can be located in the description of this video. Again, if you believe you have any information pertaining to this case, you are urged to contact the Lake County Sheriff's Office on 352-343-2101. If you wish to remain anonymous, you may contact Crimeline on 1-800-423-8477. Thank you very much for giving Julie Doe a moment of your day.